welcome to Giant Strides, where we celebrate the people and progress transforming our world. This weekly program is proudly sponsored by the Niger Delta Power Holding Company Limited, NDPHC, under the leadership of Engineer Jennifer Adihije. My name is Dorothy Monday. Today, we are spotlighting a partnership that could brighten millions of lives in Nigeria. The Niger Delta Power Holding Company and the Nigerian Independent System Operator are joining forces to deliver more reliable electricity. The Niger Delta Power Holding Company is forging a deeper collaboration with the Nigerian Independent System Operator NISO to stabilize and expand power delivery across Nigeria. And during a courtesy visit to NISO's headquarters in Abuja, the NDPHC team, led by the Managing Director, called for mutual support and transparency to strengthen Nigeria's grid system.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Behind every watt of electricity is a human story. A child studying under a bright light, a business owner keeping their shop open late, or a hospital saving lives. At NISO's headquarters in Abuja, a pivotal meeting took place to make these stories more common. Engineer Jennifer Adihije, Managing Director of NDPHC, led a high-powered delegation to meet NISO's new MD, Engineer Abu Bello Mohammed. She shared NDPHC's progress installing over 50,000 kVA capacity transformers and boosting system availability in just 9 months, with a goal to add 200 megawatts to the national grid by year-end. However, Engineer Adihije noted challenges like structural differences between public and private operators and appealed for NISO's cooperation.
It's just essentially for us to establish that first handshake with the new management of this brand new organization and to express our readiness to work with you. The hallmark of effective leadership lies in the ability of the leader to have the courage, the boldness, and the will to effect change at a time when it's most needed. And we see that in you already. You've made some very bold, very courageous, and very audacious moves that are already yielding the much needed results that have impacted our operations and impacted the sector very positively. So we have no doubt in your capacity and in your success, and we're here to express our readiness to work with you to achieve success in office. We know that the sector is rapidly evolving, driven by the nuances of the passing and the implementation of the Electricity Act, of which the NISO has a very pivotal role to play. And NDPHC being essentially the backbone of the power sector as the government-owned generation utility company, it's actually imperative, that we are able to establish and reinforce our working relationship, which is why we are here. We know that there are a number of issues. I'm only here to just congratulate you and to felicitate with you and to give you the highest assurances from the management of the NDPHC that we are ready to work with you. But it's also important that you take into cognizance the fact that first, we recognize that NISO is quasi-regulatory, but we also want to appeal to you to also recognize the fact that as a government-owned GENCO, our operational realities differ from the realities of the private GENCOs, by the way our corporate governance structure is done and by the fact that, the government's laws, applicable laws, apply to some of our operations and that affect our operations with regards to procurement and financial regulation. So we might not be, as proactive as the private generation companies when it comes to getting approvals for the directives that you may have issued. So we want you to take cognizance of that as a sister agency of the government and give us certain special considerations where necessary. And also the fact that in this sector, I don't want to be at risk of repeating myself or breaking the record of, what I keep saying all the time. But I make bold to say that NDPHC is the largest contributor to power sector growth and infrastructure. You know how much we've invested across the entire value chain. In transmission alone, we've executed over 50 330 kV substations, over 25 132 kV substations, and we've added a transformer capacity of over 9,000 MVA. So we've invested copiously. And bearing this in mind, if you can also put this into consideration, the fact that we are the largest investor in the sector, we would expect that you give us some special consideration when it comes to enforcement. That being the case, we're ready to work with you, and we'll continue to respect and to honor the sanctity of the directives issued by NISO, and we're prepared to also fulfill our obligations, to the best of our abilities.
At the meeting, Abisoye Wasiu Olajiji, COO of Geregu Generation Company in Ajokuta, highlighted that although all operators face market challenges, private companies typically have more operational flexibility compared to public entities like NDPHC.
Recently, part of what you intend doing is the SCADA, which is a very good move. This will also make the grid to be stable, and we all know where we are. I wouldn't want to waste too much of our time, but I would just want to mention 2 or 3 things, just like my able MD has mentioned, concerning we as a government. The private sector seems to enjoy more privileges than us in terms of coming up and also be on grid and being stable. Bearing in mind that we all go to the same market, we all get things done at the same time. And this frequency of shutting and starting up the system doesn't really go well with us, we must be frank. It's adding a lot of things to our EOH. Our maintenance ability also increases, and the cost implication is high. And what we're also getting from MBET is not that encouraging. Being we are government, we also want you to look into that. You also mentioned about the issue of SCADA. We also need to know that most of these legacy power plants has been some years back. And when you are talking of a SCADA, the cost implication is also high. Like some of our plants, we are discussing with Siemens. The other plant are also discussing with GE to get this bust. I think you need to be very patient with us in order to do this. We definitely do that, but we need you to also just bear with us. We will definitely do that. I also want to wrap it up, and so to also talk about cybersecurity. It's very important. Sometimes I get scared because we are running the power plant and we all know what is going on. Even in the banking sector, since they can collapse anything at any time. The same thing in the power plant. There could be cyber attack, and we should make the power plant be useless. So we need to work on that.
In his remarks, NISO's Managing Director, Engineer Abu Bello Mohammed, recognized the concerns raised and highlighted his key priorities, which focus on maintaining a sustainable national grid, promoting fair market participation, and enhancing dispatch efficiency for embedded generation operators like NDPHC.
You are the largest utility, I can say, in Nigeria so far, with minimum of 10 power stations, a minimum of 5,000 installed capacity. So you can imagine that if we could only optimize this capacity and capabilities you have, Nigeria will be better for it. And I believe that with your leadership and those that are supporting you, with the pedigree they have, we should be able to optimize these huge assets owned by the federal government. It will go a very long way in supporting the power base of this country. It's one of the cheapest actually a form of generation, gas-based, open cycle most times, and combined cycle technology. We have the abundance of gas in Nigeria, so it's a good concept that we need to cross the T's, dot the I's, to make it wholly right. And like you said, NISO is here to support the expansion and optimization of the electricity market in Nigeria. Of course, in doing so, I believe that Niger Delta Power Holding Company will play a very significant role in achieving that. Having said that, we have a lot of challenges, even though this is not the forum for discussing challenges and issues. However, we'll highlight a few of them that I believe if we put our heads together, we should be able to resolve a lot of it, if not all. I am of the opinion that we should optimize the utilization of the NDPHC assets, especially generation. With the capacity you have currently, I believe you should have available capacity of not less than 2,000 megawatts. But how much are we utilizing from that? Ranging from 500 to 800. It's not good enough for the country, to be honest with you. So a deliberate efforts must be put in place to make sure that we optimize the utilization of the asset, as long as the assets are available for utilization, both in and outside the country. You also recall that we have another window of interconnection with the WAP. I believe that it will also provide an opportunity for NDPHC to latch on, even though I know you have one or two ongoing transactions. But these are some of the things we have to make sure we provide opportunities for. We are working on interconnection of the national grid with WAP. We hope to have a test synchronization exercise by September, October this year. With that, I believe by next year, hopefully, we'll stabilize the frequency and be able to connect with the WAP and then open more opportunities for international trading activities. While at the same time, we look inwards to see that other bilateral activities, eligible customer, and what have you, promoted to enable you also have a space, a better space in the market. If you recall, we have requested for some information on transmission projects that we believe one of our major roles here is to ensure that we have a structured plan for expansion of the national grid. The way things were done in the past really are not in line with the standards. And as a result of the creation of NISO, and as one of the pillars of the mandates of NISO, to be sure that we expand the grids in an orderly fashion, such that there will be value for it on a least cost basis. So we need such information from you so that we will also simulate these projects and see the most cost-effective way to implement them. Even though we know there are some political considerations, but this is where we'll have to change gear and direction. Because we're trying to develop a national grid that is sustainable, that is least cost, and so to minimize political projects. I believe that your agency, in selecting future transmission projects and even distribution, will have to optimize those projects in a way that will add most value. There are other issues that I want to talk with you. SCADA EMS connectivity is something that we had also written to all the GENCOs. We believe that SCADA EMS is a veritable tool for us to manage the national grid in terms of scheduling, dispatch, outlet coordination of the GENCOs. Application or implementation of the EMOD, Economic Merit Order, is very critical. You have complaints about not being dispatched. You're being government, blah, blah, blah. I don't think this should exist, to be honest. It's a market we're trying to develop. A market should be of a level field. There should be a level field for all participants to participate. Where you buy your gas is not different from where others buy their gas. And as such, I don't see why we should have this disparity, to be honest with you. So it's something we're going to look into, and we'll make sure that we optimize the utilization of the assets. And then the SCADA EMS is I know a lot of the power plants have exactly inbuilt connectivity points. So I don't know whether it's obsolete, but then it's something we really need to look at and make sure that we get it done. There is also an aspect of our request and direction, the free governor action operation of the power plants, which is another very critical and important operational activity that we want all the power plants to adhere to. We are talking of grid reliability, stability. It's the first step for us to achieve that. If there's no response by the generators to frequency changes, the instability will continue to happen. And the first layer of ensuring that we dampen or address the frequency fluctuations is fast response by the GENCOs to make sure that they respond to these frequency perturbations. The second layer of it is having to have some ancillary services like spinning reserve, regulatory reserve, and other reserves necessary to maintain grid stability. You will agree with me that I know some of the power plants, NDPHC power plants, are complying with the free governor activation, but not all of them are. So we hope that you will look into that as well. The importance of that cannot be overemphasized, to be honest, because if all the GENCO units can be on free governor operation, you find out that the impact on an individual unit is minimized. But where you have only few providing that service, others are not, the impact on these few that are providing it will be terrible. Just like the TA, the essay to the MD mentioned, starting, stopping of generating units impacts on the maintenance period and its additional cost. It's the same way the free governor operations impacts on the few units that provide it, if not all. All the units are supposed to be on free governor control so that the impact is minimized.
NISO's Executive Director of System Planning, Engineer Shehu Abba Aliyu, urged NDPHC to boost its visibility to ensure its contributions reach every corner of Nigeria.
it is a center whereby we have a lot of generation coming from Alscon, and Ibom Power too is complaining of stranded generation. So we would like to know what are your preparedness in terms of where are we, who is to do that project. Secondly, there are some projects that are also equally very important, those ones that are supposed to energize Obudu Ogoja. Yes, we will want you to also keep some dollars for making the grid to generate more, to be more resilient, and as well as to improve the stability and the plan for achieving 10,000 megawatts.
I know that every power plant is primarily adjudged by its plant availability. And so when we came on board, we came up with a robust recovery strategy for improving our availability. And I can tell you that in 9 months, we've improved our availability by 100% or more. We're still working to recover 1 additional unit in the motor show that will come up by the end of this month. And hopefully in the month of August, the Aloji power plant, which had been offline for about 2 years, is also expected to come up to the grid in the month of August. I'm sure you know I'm an engineer, so I don't take operations and maintenance for granted. When the directives came from the regulator to put our units on free governance system, we immediately swung into action. And I dare say that most of our units are already on free governor, because I understand the significance of generators performing primary frequency response to enhance the stability of the grid. And our grid will only be vulnerable to failures when the system operator is unable to regulate the frequency and the voltage. And we recognize that, and we'll continue to work with you to support primary frequency response. Even when we are not compensated, because those are ancillary services that we're supposed to be compensated for, but we will continue to do our best to ensure that our shared goal is achieved in that regard. And you've also promised to improve our dispatch. You know that as the government-owned GenCo, without a PPA with MBET, for obvious reasons, we have made several attempts to enter into a PPA with MBET so that we can also improve our dispatch merit order to no effect yet, but we're hoping that under your leadership, you'll be able to support us to improve our merit dispatch order now that we're also improving our mechanical availability, so that we can be able to significantly improve on commercialization of our stranded electricity. Then you also spoke to marketing. Yes, one of the pillars under our vision is also how to do very strategic marketing, and the Electricity Act has also empowered us now, because we can now go into successful bilaterals with bankable customers, off-takers and traders. And I can tell you that we have already signed some PPAs with some traders and some off-takers, which is before the regulator, NEC, for approval. I'm sure you know that for us to activate those transactions, we will need to get the approval of the regulator, which is already ongoing. So before the end of the year, we should be able to commercialize about 200 megawatts of our stranded electricity, which are approvals before the NEC as we speak. And then the debt owed the market operator, we will look into that. We're also very heavily owed. And I'm sure you know that, we're only able to earn about 30% on our invoices that are presented. But once we're able to unlock some of these ongoing commercial transactions and our cash flow improves, I can tell you that we'll be able to live up to our obligations fully. We're not able to live up to our obligations fully because we also are not funded fully.
Of course, the visit ended with a commitment to formalize this partnership through a memorandum of understanding, with NDPHC aiming for 200 megawatts by 2025 and NISO focused on grid reliability. This collaboration could mean brighter days for millions of Nigerians.
Well, of course, this is definitely a giant stride for Nigeria's people. This partnership between NDPHC and NISO is more than technical. It's about powering dreams, businesses, and futures. Well, that's all for this episode of Giant Strides. Join us next time as we explore more stories of progress and transformation across Nigeria. Until then, keep shining and let's keep taking those giant strides together. My name is Dorothy Monday. Bye for now.